He enjoys baking bread, writing fiction, working out, and playing online video games with his older brothers. So, if we can give a round of applause, this is Michael.
Thank you. I appreciate the hype. I am too poor to get a hype man of my own. All right. Well, hey, I just want to say thank you, Principal Keller, for allowing me to come and speak to you guys. And thank you, all of you, for choosing to be here today. Because if there's one thing I've learned, back when I was like in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, was that assemblies were always the perfect time to make a run for out of school if you wanted to. As a matter of fact, I remember one time, if you'll humor me, one time when I was in 10th grade, so a little older than what you guys are at, there was an assembly at my high school. And assemblies back then were just rough, man, let me tell you. The student council would get on the stage and desperately try to capture everyone's attention. It fell flat on their face every time, just to be brutally honest. Funny thing was, though, one time during one such assembly, I was sitting there in the gym with my buddy Josh Muir to the side. Now, Muir was a bit of a hooligan, and we loved him for this. And he was like, man, Mike, do we still got to sit here and go through this? I'm like, yeah, come on, man, just work with the student council. He was like, what if we just, ditched right now? And I was like, what do you mean? Well, just leave, man. Leave the assembly and no one will notice. It's like, my friend, we're in the middle of like 2,000 people. Everyone's going to notice. He's like, that's part of the adventure, man. And I'm like, remind me something. I never want to rob a bank with you. Whether he went to go rob a bank, I don't think he did. But hey, maybe I'll meet him on the paper someday. But anyway, yeah. My name is Michael. And I'm really excited that I have the chance to come and speak to you guys today and have the opportunity to share my story with you as well. So we're just going to get started here by answering one of the biggest questions that a lot of people tend to ask me whenever I have the chance to talk to them. Now, moment of truth, we'll see if this works. Yes! Michael, how did it happen? How did the wheelchair happen? And I'm just going to come out and just say this to you guys right now. If you're ever in a room with someone else who's in a wheelchair and you want to ask them their story, don't be afraid to ask them what their story is. 9 out of 10 times, we're totally chill talking about it. It's how we cope with it, So, my story, though, it's a fun one. You guys ready for this? All right. We begin our tale in the year 2017 when life was peak. Absolutely perfect. And yes, it was the most perfect year of my entire life for some pretty good reasons. For starters, I had just gotten back, yeah, that is pretty dark, but I had just gotten back from serving my mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I served in Central Washington State, which, contrary to Washington, you think of coniferous forests and, a lot of green. We served on the desert side of the state. Imagine Idaho, but everyone was crazy. It was amazing, I'm not going to lie to you guys. And after I came back from that, I had the chance to just go ahead and get started with doing some odd jobs for the family. Picking up here and there, cleaning up houses. That particular day was when we had to go up to a cabin in southern Utah and completely sand off the side of the garage and put a fresh coat of paint on there. Good times all around. And then shortly after then, I had the chance to go start my college career at BYU, Idaho. That's me and my dad at a taco bus. Yes, taco bus. It was lit. Anyway, I was going to school to study to become a surgeon, a doctor who can, basically help stitch people back up when they get hurt real bad. The pay was really good, and honestly, that's what was motivating me, guys, if I'm honest, getting that money, Problem was, though, is as soon as I started my school classes at college, the biology, the chemistry, all that fancy stuff, oh man, I was getting destroyed. It was hard. Those classes were something else. But even then, despite the difficulty, I was having an amazing time being a student there. It was a lot of fun. Got the chance to meet some new friends, got the chance to learn some new things, really enjoying life. And then one day, on October 16th, 2017, we went to a trampoline park. I know, some of you already know where this is going. I walked into that trampoline park with my buddies and some girls, and we were going to have the best time ever. Trampoline parks are fun, right? I've been to them before. So, we go in. we go through all the fancy schmancy stuff you expect us to do. You know, you sign the waivers, you put your shoes in the locker for anything you need to do. And the thought never would have crossed my mind that as I threw my shoes in that locker, it would be the last time I'd ever walk in those shoes again. Anyway, we get to the trampoline side of things, and I kid you not, it was a blast. You know, the foam pits, the regular trampolines, the dodgeball, all the stuff that you would expect from a trampoline park. And there in the corner of this particular park, this is a real picture by the way, were these type of trampolines. Sounds like you guys know what these type of trampolines are. Now, for those of you who may not know, these are gymnastic trampolines. The type of trampolines you see in your backyard are built a little bit different than these ones. Backyard trampolines disperse force whenever you bounce into them. You go off a 6-foot fall onto a backyard tramp, you gain 3 feet of air unless you double bounce yourself. These do not do that. Newton's third law of motion, for any of you who know it, any action has an opposite and equal reaction. Any force you put into those trampolines is going to be rebounded tenfold, or at the very least the amount of force you put into it. I did not know that. There I was. I had used the trampoline to get up onto that ledge right there, and even though I had just used the darn things, I thought that these were just a regular pair of backyard trams. I had never seen these before, or been on one before. So I thought that it would be cool, because all of my friends were watching, if I fell backwards T, back first, onto that trampoline. You do that onto a regular trampoline, back onto your feet, no problem. That's not what happened here. I hit that trampoline, and it lobbed me the full 6 feet that I had fallen, and that's when my legs came above my head, and I came down on my neck instead. Yeah, it was sudden. Official prognosis. In other words, this is what the doctor said. My C6 vertebrae, which is up here in your upper neck, shifted above the one that was beneath it, pinching my spinal cord and paralyzing me from the chest down. What followed after then was a flurry of motions. I honestly cannot remember what happened during that night after the accident. All I recall is the EMTs rushing into that trampoline park, putting me into the ambulance and driving me down to a hospital in Idaho Falls, right? And the only thing that I can sort of remember was finally waking up after the surgery. Things were kind of rough. You see, there I was, less than 24 hours after I woke up that day, and my life, my dreams, everything that I had worked towards, that perfect year I was talking about, gone, shattered. It was not coming back. This was my new reality. This was what life had just become, and I didn't ask for any of this. So what did that look like? Well, I was wearing that insanely uncomfortable neck brace you see me wear, and anytime I tried to move my head at all, my head or my neck, it hurt like nothing else. Imagine a hot knife going through the back of your neck. That's what it felt like. Not fun at all. Moving, as much as I could move, hurt like nothing else. The doctors would come in and they would sit me up as best as they could. Yeah, that hurt a lot as well. And not to mention that the worst part about all of this was that I was still fully aware, I was conscious for this madness. Suddenly, I had a realization that my life was just gone, and there was nothing I could do about it. There were some benefits, I should say benefits, but some bright sides to it. My family, bless their hearts, dropped everything, because they were living in Utah at the time, to drive up to Idaho Falls and be with me during those first very unfortunate days at the intensive care unit there. My sister, who's a girl boss by all accounts, decided to drop everything on her schedule and come up and help me out as well. Bless them all for what they've done. But still, at that moment in my heart, I was still struggling with that notion of, this sucks. This life is not what I asked for. And this life is something that I would rather not live if it was rough, man. It was real rough. So, just going to do something here right now. Put yourself in my shoes for a second, because I was only 20 years old when that happened. You guys are 14, 15, 13? That's like the range here? 12 to 15. Fair enough there. Here's the crazy thing. I'm 28 right now. All of you guys are closer to the age I was paralyzed than I am at this point. So put yourself in my shoes for just one moment. What do you think were some of the emotions that were going through my mind at that time? Just yell them out. Pain, sadness, anger, depression, all of that. All right, cool. You guys are all on a really good track here. Emotion-wise, it was a lot of what you guys just said. But there was one word in particular that was going through my mind, and that word was impossible. How in the world do I face this impossible challenge that not even my worst enemy would have ever given to me? Maybe some of you have actually asked this question about yourselves at some point. How in the world am I supposed to face this impossible, this insane, this downright inconceivable challenge that I am facing in my life? It could be something with school. It could be something at home. It could be something in your personal life that no one else sees. How do I face this impossible challenge? Well, today, I want to tell you guys my story about how I learned to recover from that night at the trampoline park and how I learned to face my adversity. And hopefully, by the end of this, I will have been able to have I will have had the chance to teach you guys about how you can face your adversity as well. So y'all ready? Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's dive into this. You want to face your adversity in life? You want to face that impossible challenge? First, focus on the present. 11 days after I had been injured, 11 days after I had gone into the intensive care unit at that hospital, they threw me into an ambulance and they carted me down to the Intermountain Medical Health Center in Murray. You know, it's that hospital you see driving towards downtown. You guys know the one? Mm-hmm. That's where I was. And I'll tell you what, there was one thought on my mind during that whole ordeal, and that thought was, once I can learn to move my legs again, life is going to be so much better. Here's the problem, though. I was paralyzed from the chest down, not the waist down, the chest down. And even if I was only paralyzed from the waist down, walking again or even moving my legs wasn't going to happen anytime soon. And the first thing that they wanted to do was simply have me sit up straight, which was really difficult. Without that core muscle, without being able to move myself around, that was not as easy as it sounds. I had to throw my weight to the side to try and push myself up. And for weeks on end, we struggled. For hours, I would lie on that therapy table and try my best to simply shift my weight around so I can get on my side and try and push myself up to an even quasi-sitting position, which wasn't even sitting to begin with, if I'm honest with you guys. But one day, we were able to finally get it down. I was finally able to throw myself over as much as I could. I was finally able to plant my hands underneath my arms and push myself up, as difficult as that was, until I could finally sort of sit up. It took a long time to get that down, but once I did get it down, now that felt really good. Now, thank you. Now, why do I bring this up, though? I mean, what does this have to do with focusing on the present? Well, I told you, I was so obsessed with moving my legs again that I got lost in that vision of what life would look like in the future. I needed to focus on the here and now. Let me just give you guys a couple of phrases and tell me if they sound familiar. Once I am done with this group project in science class, my life is going to be so much better. Once I move on to the higher grades, once I get to high school, my life is going to be a lot more complete. Some of you may have thought that. Once I leave my house, I can finally be away from my parents. I can finally be who I want to be. What's the same phrase? What's the similar phrase that pops up in every single one of those scenarios? Yeah.
You're always looking for a future.
Right. And what's your name?
Tiana.
Tiana hit it right on the head. You're always looking towards the future. You're not here in the present. You want to focus, you want to face your adversity, focus on the here and now. Forget that long-term vision. Forget where you want to be. Focus on where you're at right here and do that to the best that you can. So, it's just throwing out some examples. If you do have a major project that's due next week, work on a paragraph today and celebrate it. If you go to the gym, for those of you who like to exercise, if you go to the gym and you're really struggling with motivation, just focus on that one rep. Focus on that 1 second, that one push or pull motion, and celebrate that. Because if you really want to overcome your adversity, celebrate the small victories and focus on the present. Even if it's something as simple as rolling through the sun in your wheelchair because that's the first time you've been outside in weeks. So, you want to face your adversity, you want to face your impossible challenges, focus on the present. As soon as you get into that mindset, you're in a better place to do the next big thing. Acknowledge your emotions. So, I'll be honest with you guys. Even as I continue to improve with my journey, even as I continue to improve recovering, it was still an emotional hurricane. I had still lost my ability to walk. Like I said, my dreams, my life was gone at that point. And even though I had the opportunity to simply just sit and do nothing about the emotions that I had, I decided to instead sit and listen as I continued to learn how to push the wheelchair, as I continued to learn how to get around again for the first time in months. I focused on the present, and then I learned to acknowledge my emotions. And it was still hard, it's an emotional toll learning how to live your life from the ground up again. And maybe you felt that too with the challenges that you faced. One day, as I was sitting in the hospital, a gentleman who was also in a wheelchair, a fellow by the name of Mike, came into the room, and he told me something that I want to tell all of you guys. And that's, Michael, it's okay to have a bad day, but don't let it turn into a bad week. Bad days look different for everyone. My bad days could have been my shoulders were absolutely destroyed, no way I can do any of my physical therapy. Or maybe it was just something as simple as the wheelchair was broken and I couldn't move around, or just the emotional toll flaring up again. But that's okay. It's okay to feel those bad emotions whenever you're going through really difficult times. Just don't let them control you. Let your emotions guide you, help you overcome your challenges, but don't give in to them if it feels overwhelming. There's always people you can talk to as well. So you want to face your adversity? Acknowledge your emotions. Once you're able to do that, next thing, cut out the comparison in your life. Yeah, I know. We live in a world that's connected via social media. Raise your hand in the last, 12 hours if you've compared yourself with someone else. Okay, pretty good. Pretty good. You guys are doing great. But it's still rough. It's impossible to escape sometimes, right? And when I was first injured, I had to learn to stop comparing myself as well. Roughly 3 weeks after the injury, I'd gotten used to pushing the chair around. I had gotten used to pushing myself up and sitting up straight. I had gotten used to living life generally kind of sort of normal-ish. I found myself in the 12th room hospital, on the 12th floor of the hospital, in my room, just looking out and down onto the valley that was beneath. And I saw people from all different walks in life just going about their day. I saw businessmen going to and from the parking lot and the different businesses there. I saw soccer moms dropping kids off in the park there. I saw homeless people just chilling on the grass, living their best life. And all of them could still move their legs. In my mind, how in the world am I supposed to live my life when I am surrounded by people who seem to do it better than I can? Sound familiar? I learned I couldn't allow myself to compare my circumstance, my life, with someone else, even if it seemed objectively better. So I learned to cut out the comparison. How do we do that? Well, actually, you just do it, man. Discover your own talents and then offer them in unique ways. So what does that look like? Well, I don't know. I'm not you guys. Everyone's got different talents and whatnot. My job isn't to help you discover those. But once you find out what you are good at, just find a fun way to serve someone. And for example, if you like to bake, go bake a cake for someone's party. And you may be wondering to yourself, okay, well, that's fine and dandy for people who like to work with flour and water and sugar, but what about the stuff that I like to do? Well, I like to imagine there are ways for you to serve the people around you with your own talents that you may not have thought of. For example, we're going to try something here. If this falls flat on our face, you can blame me for it. How many of you guys like to exercise or to lift weights or do stuff like that? My friends, you guys are off to a great start. Okay. And how many of you guys, well, actually, tell you what, everyone who just raised your hand, stand up instead. Okay, great. Look around. Look to the side. Look behind you. Look forward. All of you like to exercise. All of you like to work out. Get together. Share some tricks. Talk about the form that you guys do. Y'all can sit, by the way. Yeah, swap each other's numbers later and go hit the gym after on. It's a lot of fun. Okay. All right, next one. How many of you guys, now that we've established the physical stuff, how many of you guys like to do stuff like artsy stuff, like draw or paint or something like that? Let's stand up. All right. We've got some future artists in the room. Right. All right, settle. Now we're going to add something to this. Y'all can sit. How many of you guys like to write? You like to create worlds? Maybe you're a DM in your D&D group. All right. All of you guys who like to paint and like to draw, take note of who likes to write. Get together, create worlds, bring your vision to life. Okay, y'all can sit down. And then the last one we're going to do, just really quickly, how many of you guys like to do content creation across any platform? All right, sweet. Yeah, feel free to stand. All right. Everyone settle down, because what I'm about to share next is pretty cool. Okay. I guarantee all of you standing right now that every person who's standing knows something about editing or content creation that you don't. So get together. Find unique ways to share your talents. Nothing else will kill comparison out of your life than being able to serve your friends and everyone around you with the things that you're good at. So once again, you want to face your adversity head on, cut out the comparison by discovering your own talents and offering them to others in unique ways. All right, we're going to go through this last point here, because once you're done doing that, you're well on your way to do the last part of facing your adversity, and that is elevating and engaging others. So I'm going to share one more quick story with you guys to talk about this. After I left the hospital and had learned how to live life to a certain extent again, I actually got the chance to sort of stand again at this therapy place. This is me on a pair of therapy bars, basically just horizontal bars you can grip to. Think like guardrails almost. And a bunch of therapists just lifting me up, Whether or not it's just by the belt around my chest or by my arms, they're holding me up so that I can stand for the first time in months. And, well, I'll be honest with you, as nice as it was to do this, it also made me really, really lightheaded. I couldn't do it for long. But there's a lesson here I want to say. By offering your talents in unique ways to other people, you have the chance to engage with others and elevate where they're at. And they in turn will have the chance to elevate you as well. Several years have gone by since then, and I found myself at that same hospital, and I thought to myself, oh, what the heck, I wonder if I can push myself up. The answer? Yep, I can. Yeah, well, thank you. Granted, I still can't walk, but that's still pretty cool. And instead of not being able to stand up for too long because of blood pressure, now I can't stand because that is an absolute killer on your wrists. Oh man, that really hurts. Look, the point I'm trying to make with this is elevate others, engage with others, and you'll be able to do the hard thing that you may never thought you had the chance or the possibility to even do. So, I began this whole presentation asking a question about how it happens. Sometimes I also get some questions from people saying, Mike, if you had the chance, if you could go back in time and prevent yourself from being paralyzed, would you take it? And I'll be honest with you, it's a bit of a tempting offer. I do miss being able to swim and hike and do a bunch of physical stuff, but truth be told, I don't think I'd take that. Not because I'm trying to sound cheesy, but because life is beautiful. I had the chance to do so many cool things despite my injury. As I faced my impossible challenge, it's given me the ability to sympathize and to elevate with others, given me the chance to problem solve throughout my entire life, given me the opportunity to serve the people around me by facing that adversity. It would be nice to hike again, but honestly, it's not so bad being here either. So once again, bringing it back to why I'm here in the first place. If you want to face your own adversity, if you want to become the person you need to become by facing that trial head on instead of trying to go around it, focus on the present. Acknowledge your emotions. Cut out the comparison and engage and elevate with other people around you. It's natural for us to want to wish the difficult circumstances of our lives away. It's human nature. But we only grow if we face those head on. Look, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm tired, even though I'm 28 years old, I still get this. I'm tired of seeing old-timers on the verge of retirement telling my generation that we're entitled, that we're lazy, that we're snowflakes, that we easily break, we can't handle the stress, and so on and so forth. Those sound familiar? Yeah. Here's the thing. I believe that everyone in this room has the potential to become some of the most emotionally or mentally resilient human beings to ever walk on the face of the earth. But that's only going to happen if we face our adversity head on. It's up to you guys. So, I say go out there and get it. And if you ever do happen to find yourself at a trampoline park, please land on your feet. Thank you.